There's a big concern, folks. It's the New World Order. The New World Order is here. You've been hearing about it since, I'm going to go with the first time you heard that Ministry song, or you've heard about, that was quite the S sibilance just then. That was good. You've heard about it endlessly on Alex Jones and on numerous conspiracy theory YouTube videos, documentaries, the conspiracy of the New World Order, wherein no one ever seems to bring up, well, if there's a New World Order, there should have been an Old World Order, right? So what's the Old World Order then? Why would you need a New World Order if there hadn't been a world order before? What would that? Well, of course, theocracies, monarchies, and dictatorships running the fucking world and using their serfs as cannon fodder for resource wars forever and ever. No rule of law, no Geneva Conventions, no international conventions on the use of biological and chemical weapons. None of that shit. That's all New World Order shit. No World Bank, no like World Health Organization, those kind of things, trying to coordinate between democracies to try and help each other out. Like, hey, we've got a wheat blight in our country. We don't know what to do with it. We've dealt with that kind of thing before. We'll send you some stuff. Maybe that'll work out, and our scientists will work with your scientists so that we don't have another fucking Dark Ages. Cool, cool. That was that's the New World Order. Apparently, there's going to be a new World Order. It's the equivalent, I suppose, of let's see, I have to open this guy up. Trump's "Make America Great" over and over, right? So, oh, whoops, I gotta unmute that. Is that not in there? What's weird? Give me 1 second. Let's go to this guy. We'll add this. Magoo. All right, that seems to be in there. Is there another one? Okay, missing. I see. All right, so there we go. Let me put this away. Magoo. There you go. Now it works. Just making sure that people know what's going on, you know.
Assuming you're believing in atmospheric filth.
There we go. So, over the course of Magoo, the New World Order obviously is not getting the best press in the world over time, and certainly is it's been a point of paranoia for a long time, especially considering who it would negatively affect. Now, who would be against an alliance of liberal democracies wherein they share in trade and security and science and space travel and fighting disease and all that kind of stuff, and you are on the other side of that because you want to be an autocrat or a dictator for life, where you can keep your people in isolation. If you want to be a Kim Jong-un, for example, you want to be a Xi Jinping, you want to be a Vladimir Putin, apparently you would do everything you can to paint said agreement, alliances amongst other people, as being terrible. And you would use any asshole that you could find who was gullible and paranoid themselves to help you with a whisper campaign to make everybody else think that. And voila, YouTube videos about the New World Order, right? There you go. Just for the record. Hi, I'm Hal Sparks. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Yeah, I think I'm the only person who talks like this. You're welcome. All right. Which brings us to, by the way, this dickhead, Glenn Beck. Well, Glenn Beck's ass. And Glenn Beck's books and his garbage can and an old monitor and this giant touchscreen thing that he has but never uses, a box of Wheaties, which I'm going to guess was about a trans athlete joke he did earlier, because that's what it do. This is a little stand for an iPad. He's also writing things physically over here. This is another one of his Sonic beverages. So we know he's back to eating shit and treating his body like a garbage can. And that's Stu, who helps him do it. Here we go. So this is the consequences of a, quote, new world order could be huge. The consequences. Yikes.
So Elon Musk,
He's wearing his own merch. He's wearing a Blaze Media shirt. This is Blaze Media action figure Glenn Beck today with his jogging suit on. We're not buying it, dude. You didn't hit the gym. And there's his book for sale. And this is what an idiot Glenn Beck is. Glenn Beck is such an egomaniac that his name had to be above the title on his book. Meanwhile, that means that while his name is getting in the picture where he set up this book to be seen every time they use this camera angle, the title of the book isn't. Do you see what I mean? You see how dumb that is? If he had any room in his ego for anything but Glenn Beckiness and his stupid Glenn Becky, he's got friggin'. It's like Saddam Hussein's bathroom. The amount of just glitz with his own name on it he's got everywhere. But because he can't not do that, he had to put the title of the book on the bottom of the front, on the bottom of the cover, so you don't see it.
Increasingly convinced that corporate ESG is the devil incarnate. This is really good news.
Why? Why is it really good news? He just wants to be able to invest in stuff, and he doesn't want companies that he doesn't want to invest in to get a better mark than his. Yeah.
Some people that are now big players that are starting to talk about this as a reality. I mean, there is such a disconnect. Anyone who tells you this is not what's going on, it's no longer Glenn Beck's crazy theory and Glenn Beck's crazy book.
Yes, it is. It is. It's Glenn Beck's crazy theory and Glenn Beck's crazy book. The Great Reset and ESG are not linked in any way. ESG is just because there are enough investors. It's a marketing ploy. People and organizations want to be able to tell their shareholders, especially giant pension funds, that they are investing in things that are future forward, that aren't fossil fuel exploration, but are for solar and that kind of stuff. And so many people want that, and that they insist on that from these giant organizations, that they wanted some sort of like organic labeling on shit. Think of ESG as the organic labeling of stocks and investments for your portfolio. And just like organics, some of it's truly organic and a lot of it's bullshit.
There are so many people, for instance, NYU professor of finance, Aswath, Damaran.
Jesus. You couldn't check right before? You're citing the dude as being on your side? You know, the big heavy hitter. You know, people, big household names like Asforce Damshan, if I got a har.
Has been writing about ESG.
Cool.
So what he said, when I first wrote about ESG 2 years ago, I did so because I was skeptical of the unquestioning belief that people had in its success. Amen.
What do you mean, amen? That it would work as a marketing scheme for... all right.
This is one of the things that really bothers me about this, is everybody is just so convinced that this is all going to work. When they're talking about... when I first read...
Wait a minute. Finish what the fucking guy was saying. Literally, from the quote he's read so far, it could be like, when I started writing about ESG, I thought that this... I was skeptical about whether or not this would lead to people investing in more forward-thinking and healthy investments. And then it turned out, no, they're investing in a bunch of bullshit, or they're using the ESG score to invest in things that are the opposite of it.
The World Economic Forum website.
Oh, God.
And they were unveiling all of their plans. When I got to the food thing, I
went, I'm never gonna eat at Sonic ever again. Can you imagine the crap that's in soda? When I read the stuff that was on the World Economic Forum about how they were gonna poison everybody with fast food, I was like, not me. You're not gonna get Glenn Beck. You're never gonna. I do want fries with that. Thank you for asking.
realized these people are criminally insane. They're criminally insane. You're going to take 10,000 years of farming and flush it down the toilet?
No. You're thinking of Trump call logs.
And come up with a new system of farming, literally from seed to plate.
What? They're going to apply modern science instead of looking back at thousands of years of blight and famine and flooding and the inability to grow things and the variance of crops and recognize that people need to live no matter, whether, the harvest has been normal or not, and try to divine a way of growing crops in a way that feeds as many people as possible, in a way that it doesn't look like rice fields from the 1400s. Why would scientists look at that? Why would they put aside years of witchcraft to start building a scientific approach to medicine? Why would anyone do that? Why would anyone put aside the science? All right.
And you're going to do that in 8 years?
Well, I mean, we have mapped the human genome in less time.
Really?
Yeah. Again, I don't know what the fuck. What are they trying to do? Raise crop yields so people don't starve to fucking death? Have you looked at the wheat issues about Russia and Ukraine right now? You do realize that because of Russia invading Ukraine, we could lose as many as 500 million people to starvation in the next 18 months. Simply because the number 2 wheat producer on Earth attacked the number 5 wheat producer on Earth. And all the countries that rely on wheat imports for a large portion of their calories are fucked into a cocked hat because of that. You don't think that sensible people might want to come up with a system where you could grow food in environments that is not conducive to growing food scientifically, so that you don't lose a 500 million people?
Oh, that's not criminally insane or criminally arrogant at all.
Criminally arrogant. I mean, the irony. Glenn, I don't give a rat fuck about the World Economic Forum and all these kind of groupings together. When the G20 gets together and all these groups, there's a big chunk of those folks, and a big chunk of their conversation is about a bunch of my people are going to die if we run out of food. And we're working on a way that we can make sure we don't run out of food no matter what. Especially since China and Russia and India don't seem to give a shit about climate change at all. And we can do all we want to try and fix that, but the floods are coming. The sea rise is coming. The loss of land mass is coming. And we've got to make sure that we have a way to produce food that in the past might have relied on the weather acting fucking normal. And it's not going to anymore. So if you had a Christian fucking thought in your brain or a shred of decency in your heart, you might look at that problem and go, that's a lot of dead people. Is there something we could do? Could we get a bunch of the people together and try to figure out a way to produce food that requires less energy, less water, that is absolutely refined like all the other technology humans have come up with, so that we don't have to rely on the wave of the sun or the cycle of the seasons to feed people who might die from starvation because we do.
Anyway, he said,
Also, by the way, all of these companies are doing it from a capitalistic standpoint. It's investments, it's them putting their time in and their money in and making sure that it's still...
initially believed that it was a flawed concept that needed fixing. But after 2 years of interactions with people who claim to know the concept really well, but don't seem capable of making solid cases for it, and witnessing its takeover by well-heeled entities with agendas, I'm convinced that there will soon be room for only two types of people in the ESG space. The first will be the useful idiots, well-meaning individuals who believe that they are advancing the cause of goodness as they toil in the trenches of ESG measurement services, ESG arms of consulting firms, and ESG investment funds. The second will be the feckless knaves who know fully well the void behind the concept, but see an opportunity to make money. I know those are not edifying choices, but I don't see...
Also, what... This dude is, again, that's exactly what I said. This dude is like, I don't think ESG will work. There'll be people who think they're doing some good on a level trying to go, this is a good investment, this is good for the environment, this is a bad investment, this is bad for the environment, this is good for social programs, this is terrible to areas, they're using up all the water that these indigenous people need, this is terrible because they have control over the government for producing chocolate and shit like that, and these are good because they found a sustainable way to grow and it supports everybody around it, and blah blah blah. Like those two, those are the people in the first example, and then the other people who are just living like a tick off of it, lying in this. I told you, it's the same thing as fucking organics. It is the same. This is like, imagine somebody at at fucking the head of 4-H writing a paper or an op-ed saying organic on the one hand, I think it's great, or all natural. Putting all natural on a label, I initially thought was a great idea because it would drive people towards, knowing that there's a market for natural foods and natural consumption. And then what turned out to happen was like half of them were people who were trying very desperately to establish what natural meant. And then a bunch of people who were just figuring like, if we slap all natural on shit, call it that. I mean, technically speaking, nuclear war is all natural because humans made it. Is an anthill unnatural? Of course not. So is anything a human makes with their hands unnatural? Of course not. So everything's all natural, so we can slap it on there. Your Honor, I rest my case.
Good ones, other than leaving the ESG space completely. Good luck.
And by the way, the ESG space, it's not an all-encompassing system. It's a marketing scheme for investments. You paranoid fuckhead.
That's a
watery bullshit statement, exactly in line with what everybody thinks it is, you paranoid lunatic.
Pretty damning.
No, it isn't. Again, it's the same shit I heard written about organics or GMOs or fucking, oh God.
Now let's couple
that with high fructose corn syrup. Pass the Sonic.
To the real world. CNBC has...
Shit. Let's take a bullshit concept that I in no way established as a reality and link it to a story that has nothing to do with it but uses scary language like New World Order. You think that's where this phrase finally comes in? And go, aha, oh, oh.
Just run a
lava is organic.
An op-ed, a New World Order.
And it's an op-ed, is it? An opinion? Editorial? It's an opinion. It's editorial. It's editorial. It's my opinion. It's my opinion. My sister, my daughter, my sister.
Emerging, and the world is not ready for it.
Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun.
This is written by the chief executive officer of the Atlantic Council, and so, you know, somebody who was like, yay, world order.
Is that what the Atlantic Council does? I thought that was the Atlantis Council.
But he says that we're not ready for it at all.
Dear God. Yeah, we're not dressed for it. The New World Order is here, and I've got nothing to wear.
He said, are we ready for the New World Order? That's the provocative title of the panel that led off the ambitiously named World Government Summit last week. And it was framed to suggest that a new world order is emerging and the world's not ready for it.
Yeah, because our supply chains are spread all over the place, and they're linked to a bunch of countries that won't be part of a world order because they're fucking dictatorships.
There has been a proliferation of writing about who will shape the future world order since Vladimir Putin launched his invasion in Ukraine.
Yeah, weird.
The tempting conclusion, should Ukraine survive as an independent, sovereign, and democratic country, the U.S. and Europe-backed forces will regain momentum against the previously ascendant Russian-Chinese forces of authoritarianism.
Well, not so fast, because Glenn Beck thinks those two forces are just fine right where they are.
And in at least Putin's case, evil. I think we can say that about China, too. Can we pony up maybe to the big boy table just for a second and say...
Okay. All sarcasm aside, or I guess wry, ironic. No, I'm not giving him that much credit. Just syrupy sarcasm aside, they're going with the positive attack outside the country part, which has always been a greater standard. And yes, we can. I don't know why the Atlantic Council guy doesn't want to go straight with Xi Jinping. I'm going to guess because currently there are American companies and American businesses that are over there, or citizens. We're currently interacting with them in a way that they haven't been fully excluded from the economic system yet, based on thinking the idea that if the world puts pressure on them, they'll straighten up around Xinjiang and stop it. Do I think they will? I doubt it.
Yeah, I think we can call the regime in China evil.
Again, what the... Yes, fine. Cool, Glenn. Russia and China are evil in this context. The world order this asshole is talking about is the not evil countries getting together and playing in the same sandbox. That's the world order they're talking about. And then anybody who doesn't want to be evil can play in our sandbox too. If you want to be evil, either build your own sandbox or fuck straight off.
Sounds like good news, but there's a downside. My conversations in Dubai at the World Government Summit and the Atlantic Council's Global Energy Forum show little enthusiasm or conviction for this bifurcated vision of the future.
Well, we're in a shock moment right now. There's still a lot going on. This is in flux currently. Nobody wants to install one. Everybody's still like, well, if China could, and if Russia, like if Putin, I don't know if he, I'm sure there was a lot of that. These folks were meeting in Dubai, for fuck's sake. Dubai, where I was once almost arrested for a joke. And not even a joke I meant to tell as an offense, but one that was misunderstood.
Middle Eastern participants have no interest in abandoning relations with China, the leading trading partner for Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates.
Right.
Or breaking with Russia, which established itself as a force to be reckoned with when it saved Syrian President Bashar al-Assad.
Al-Assad, whatever.
Through its military intervention in its war. Beyond that, our Middle East partners have lost confidence in America's commitment to global leadership, or confidence, following last year's botched Afghanistan withdrawal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Botched is the modifier. Withdrawal is the actual meaningful word there. We're not there anymore. And the reason that they've lost confidence is because they used to gain confidence while we were fucking around in Afghanistan. They benefited from us fucking around in Afghanistan. We were drawing fire away from them while we were fucking around in Afghanistan. And as soon as we got out, those rifles, those bits of ill will turned on them, as they should have been this entire time.
They're also experiencing whiplash from the Trump administration that trashed the nuclear deal with Iran to Biden's administration, which they feel is pursuing it without sufficiently factoring in Tehran's regional aggression. In all my many years in the Middle East...
Yeah, wonder why the Saudis think that. Guys, mind if I pull up a map for a second? Can we do a little bit of that business? Hold on. Map of the Middle East. Doo-ba-dee-doo, doo-ba-dee-doo. Here we go, it's a map of the Middle East. Hey, it's a map of the Middle East. Hold on, get back up here. All right, I guess I gotta. So, let me see if I can pull this guy up here for you, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't mind. Let me go in here, try to, whoops, what happened there? Quit it. I don't want to move that around. Give me this guy. Take this over here, and then move it over like that. Okay, so let me see if I can drag this up a little. Whoops. It's way easier to move things around in slobs and all these other things in this particular case. But here's Iran, here's Saudi Arabia, here's Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and by the way, and here's Yemen down here. So this is where the missiles are flying in to Saudi Arabia. This is where our troops are here, or were under Trump, playing missile catcher. And right down here in this part of Saudi Arabia are a bunch of Iranian-backed militants who don't like the fact that the Saudi Arabian Saudi Arabian royal family has control over this huge swath of land and all this kind of stuff. And they've been fighting over here, and it's a big deal. Over here are a bunch of Saudi-backed rebels in the Iranian area who like this area because it's full of oil. And so these guys want, for religious reasons, to take over this on behalf of these guys. And these guys right here want to take over this area for these guys in here. And so that's fucked up. If at some point we move past a nuclear stand, or the sort of warlike standoff with Iran, things go back to some semblance of normalcy, where Iran is a functioning country in relationship, even with its more extreme leaders in terms of its religious front. If it ever normalizes and becomes, it goes back to where it kind of was, where the people themselves were very much aligned with Europeans for a good long while. That puts the Saudis on the receiving end of all the negative. Oh, beg your pardon. I should point on here. You're right. Sorry, I don't have a pointer. So yeah, that's right. So let me do that again. That's my bad. I was on the wrong screen. Okay, so Saudi Arabia, Iran, Yemen, Iraq, Oman, and then all these little, there's Syria, there's Israel's right over here. Qatar right on the end of this. Here's where the UAE is. This is where these folks met, right? And the water that goes around here, like getting oil in and out of Iran, getting oil in and out of Saudi Arabia, they would be like knuckling each other's, or elbowing each other's ships going out of this area into the Gulf of Oman. So in Saudi Arabia, sorry, I thought I was pointing this out, but so there's Saudi backed right here in this area. There are Saudi-backed rebels who are trying to take the oil from these oil fields right in here, and basically they want to seize this area and give it to the Saudi Arabians, to the Saudi royal family, and keep it under Saudi Arabian control. And then there are Iranian-backed people down here, in just above Qatar in this area, that are fighting against the Saudis and want, you know, control of basically this area and then eventually Saudi Arabia, but this area for shipping and all this other shit coming from Iran. So there you go. So I mean, it's been back and forth, but this area right here and this area right here, that's a big battle zone on either side of the water, on the either side of the Persian Gulf. Yemen down here, this whole area right here is where the missiles are flying in, and our soldiers were acting as missile catchers during the war. And so, like during the Trump administration, rather. And so we've been trying to dial that shit down for years. We have something like 900 troops stationed in and around there. They've been dwindling. The Biden administration is going to pull all of them out. That's why Saudi Arabia's mad. That's one of the other reasons why they didn't want us. They didn't want to help us with oil prices and all that shit, is because we don't want our soldiers playing shield against Yemen missiles, like Houthi missiles, essentially, in this area. So, if at any point Iran becomes friendly with the West again and evens things out through their alliance with the West and through Turkey and this area, they make it really difficult for Russia to bypass, you know, like go through Iran to bring their oil to market. There's a lot of other elements here, but it's just bad news for the Saudis, effectively, long term. So, of course, they don't like the Iran deal. They've been subverting the Iran deal as much as, you know, Israel has. Israel just doesn't think it's going to work. So that's their security concern. And they're afraid that the religious rulers of Iran are actually going to go secretly build a nuke and then send it to Israel and it'll be over in a day. That's their big concern. And it's a relatively legitimate one, although the deal will actually work. The Saudis don't want it to happen because of hundreds of years of trade that will happen. And yes, Yemen is fucked. Yemen is a terrible area. It's a pirate nation, just like Eritrea, where there's full-on slavery going on. Eastern Sudan and Somalia, this whole area right here is just horrifying right now. Has been for a long time. But anyways, that's the back and forth about the Saudis not wanting to play footsie. Is largely like why the Saudis aren't playing along on a lot of this stuff, simply because they don't want the Iran deal to happen because of the financial aspects.
Over the years, I have never heard this level of frustration from Mideast government officials with American policymakers.
Good. You know, the other reason is because we are getting off of fossil fuels. Once we are 100% energy independent, where we don't have to buy it from anywhere else, where we can produce enough of it ourselves, and literally people can use ESG scores to go, you know what, I'm going to buy from Chevron, or I'm going to buy from Exxon, or I'm going to buy from BP, but I insist, if the money that we put into this, or that we buy, the oil that's actually brought out is using a blood diamond standard, where we will take it from the oil fields that come from here. We will take it from Mexican oil fields. We will take it from Northern European oil fields or around Sweden and that kind of stuff. But if it's mined, just like blood diamonds, if it's mined from an area that exploits the people and the environment, we're not going to take it. And it will matter. And oil used to be oil. But now, between what's going on in Russia, they're looking at that and going, and how they behave, how the Saudis behave, and how the Iranians might come around eventually. They're recognizing that if the Iranians get a deal with the United States and don't produce any of these things, and they start playing nice, we might start getting oil from Iran, and we haven't, you know, that oil's been largely sitting compared to the amount that's been pumped out of Saudi Arabia, and they're fairly oil poor at this point.
So he goes on to talk about how there have been now 3 attempts to organize the world. And he said it was the Treaty of Versailles and the League of Nations, which got into European fascism and everything else. Then World War II.
Yeah, it just got into that. Just got into it. You know, the Treaty of Versailles, which was about establishing European fascism.
He You had the Marshall Plan and Bretton Woods. Then...
yeah, you just had that. Bretton Woods is the primary world order agreement that we're talking about. That is, if you side with us against the Soviets, we'll protect your ships with our ships. If you don't, then Russia's not going to, and pirates will have at them. We can do that for you. All you got to do is be open to trade with your neighbors, not attack anybody, and we're cool. China benefited from this. Without Bretton Woods, there is no China. There is no modern China. Period. End of story. There isn't one. It would instead be the largest brutally impoverished nation on the earth.
You had the third effort, he says, is the Cold War ending, where it became a unipolar world, and now it's this one. Now, I can't take any more people saying this is, a hoax. It's not really happening. Why would you think? Why are all of the biggest magazines, think tanks, scholars all talking about this, including our president?
They aren't. People who talk about ESG are talking about ESG. The same way that people who talk about Brent crude are talking about Brent crude. The same way that if you go to a fucking Bitcoin podcast, all they're fucking talking about is Bitcoin. People within those worlds talk about those things, and there are plenty of sources to hear about them. And then if you reach over and you go, everybody's talking about Bitcoin. Why do you think that? Well, because I watch nothing but fucking Bitcoin YouTube channels all the fucking time. And the other day, somebody talked about coin-operated video games, and the word coin really stuck out to me. And I realized that there's a tie between Bitcoin and coin-operated video games. It's 4 letters, and they happen to be in the same order. But I think it's all part of a big scheme.
Saying that there is a new world order. You must break out of the box of your thinking. This is happening.
So fucking what? It's happened multiple times. It's a descriptor.
Now, how it happens, I don't know. But one of the things that...
Well, thanks. All right. Well, I'm glad we covered that. Geez. Every time we do a Glenn Beck video, we have at least a moment where he's like, when is this thing gonna occur? I don't know. What is this all about? I don't know. Why is this thing dangerous or good? I don't know. Like, fucking hell, every time we get halfway through this shit, he is halfway through, he always ends up going, I don't know what this means, but it's gotta mean something because other people are talking about it. Jesus Christ. I don't know. I've heard a lot of these things about this Mindhunter show. A lot of people are watching it. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know what it's about, but it can't be good, because Claire was mentioned the other day, and somebody was saying I found it very scary, and somebody else said I wish there was another season. All of it sounded very negative. I don't know.
Is happening is Russia and China are trying to collapse our dollar because we're trying to collapse.
Oh, fuck off.
Russia.
No. They're not trying to collapse our dollar. Even if they wanted to, they fucking well couldn't. There is no way, people, simmer. There is no way the yuan is going to become the reserve currency of the world. Are you out of your fucking mind? No currency on earth that is manipulated directly and regularly for the benefit of the trading country itself without a secondary regulating body is going to be trusted the world over as a reserve currency. Go away. Stop it. Sit down. Shut the fuck up. You're talking out of your ass. It's absurd. And then line that up next. What do you think the ruble is? You think the ruble is a trusted currency? The primary currency of a gangster kleptocracy? You think oil's going to be traded in rubles? Russia's trying to do that now, and that was the key point for like Lithuania to go, we're not buying fucking Russian oil anymore then. We're not going to go find rubles in the world and use them to buy this shit. and then have to fly it in physically? Come on.
So what did Russia do this weekend?
Who cares?
Russia, the Bank of Russia,
Oh, they still have one? That's adorable.
has resumed gold purchases. More importantly, they are now fixing the ruble, 5,000 rubles per 1 gram of gold. So they're on a
Yes, they're going to go on the gold standard. Have fun. Guess what? You now get to have your economy manipulated by the gold market. And since the rest of the world doesn't give a fuck about the price of gold for their currency, especially the world's reserve currency, they can capsize it anytime they want to.
quasi gold standard now. If they attach a gold standard to the rubles, this is what the Bank of Russia is now doing. If they've already said we're going to shut down all oil and gas exports unless you buy it in rubles.
Right. So what?
Well, nobody wants rubles.
Right.
They knew that. So now Russia has said, we're on a gold standard. Now, it's not exactly that, but it's close enough.
Yeah, it's close enough. I mean, in world economics and in dealing with a country that is currently murdering people in the streets and leaving corpses for dogs to eat them, and basically it's a gold standard. It's almost think of it as Russia's trying to go for that sweet spot during the Vietnam War that America found itself in, where it was on the shit end of an exercise in absolute violence that it couldn't get itself out of, and it was still on a gold standard. Remember that? Remember how great America was doing during the Vietnam War? Yeah, well, Russia has decided, while they're having their own Vietnam, to go back to the monetary system that was inadequate to pay for the debts they ran up during Vietnam. What the fuck? What? Who thinks this is a good idea? This is terrible. I swear to God, this is the stupidest thing he's come up with yet. Yes, Russia is going back to the Vietnam War standard. Please.
So you can take gold and send it to
And shove it up your ass.
Russia. They'll give you the rubles. You buy the oil. You give the rubles back.
Oh, is that how it works? So basically you're paying for oil in gold. So what? So Russia can have a lot of pretty rock? The pretty rock? I swear to God, Russia has been watching too many, I guess, old Rush Limbaugh and actual Justice Warrior and Tom Hartman gold ads.
They're stocking up on gold.
So what?
This will be very, very bad for the United States. It'll
Why?
good, for gold prices if you have that.
Yeah, we don't have to give a fuck because our currency is not backed by gold, nor is it backed by tin or aluminum or ceramic semiconductors or fucking adamantium or vibranium. Who gives a shit?
Unfortunately, I don't think.
If they were stocking up on it and we were still on a gold standard, we'd kind of be fucked. Now we don't care.
The United States has a lot of that.
We don't need any. Who cares?
And will it work? Yes. Listen
No.
to this. This is from the CEO of BASF, which I'm not sure what they make other than they're a petrochemical company. And it's, if you...
Well, why do your research? I'm sure his name will be easy to pronounce, though. The company BASF, I don't even know what the B stands for. I'm pretty sure I know what the A and the F stand for. The S is still up for grabs. But the CEO, whose name was Fismhouden Gambahumbatafane. I hope I'm butchering that correctly.
It's like, remember the days when you used to watch Sunday morning TV shows?
Yes, Sunday morning TV shows. I remember when I used to watch Sunday morning TV shows. We're being led towards a commercial break, aren't we? If this motherfucker sells gold and we're just being lassoed into this, I recognize I'm only on the first floor, but I will jump off this balcony into the sand and run into the water fully clothed. This
on politics, and it'd be like, BASF, we make everything you need.
Yeah, I don't remember that ad.
Okay, like what? Everything.
Were they the company that said, like, we make the things that you like better? So did they have, like, a slogan like that?
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember. You remember? I don't know. I was so fucked up on gin and Sonic.
Make the things you need.
Oh, yes. Good point. Thank you, Cosmic Rose. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. They post these clips. I go through the whole goddamn thing. Just saying.
They make the things you need better.
Yeah. So anyway,
they improve them.
They make everything from, I don't know, tape to styrofoam to, well, in this case, they make fertilizer as well.
Yes. So one of the big things it shouldn't surprise anyone about is that Russia, because they produce as much wheat as they do, they also have a lot of the potash and nitrogen used to make fertilizer, and so they make a lot of it world over. And so the inability to get fertilizer from Russia, man, Russia they just cornered the market on all the stuff we need. You know what I mean? Like, everything that comes out of Russia is good. Oil, gas, shit. They got all the sweet stuff. And I can remember the days when they used to make space stuff. Anyways, they do make a lot of that stuff, and it not getting to market for parts of Europe, for especially China, it's going to lead to starvation in a bunch of places. That's the 500 million people I'm talking about in the next 18 months. That's the price of food going up. That has nothing to do with them hoarding gold or making the ruble, the ruble worth a goddamn. Nothing to do with that. That is strictly that we globally relied on them as a provider of potash and nitrogen. That's it.
So he did the CEO just did an interview because they're talking about in Germany. What do we do without gas from Russia? And the new chancellor's like, don't worry about it. Just turn your temperature down by 2 degrees. It'll be fine. And BASF is like, that's a recipe for disaster. That's not going to work.
No, it isn't. That wasn't their response at all. Him saying, turn your thermostat down 2 degrees to cut waste in this particular situation, and the fact that the U.S. is backing them up and Qatar's providing them with some, and we're going to, we'll work it out afterwards. And more than likely, they'll start sourcing it out of Ukraine after all this. That's right. That's right. Oil and gas exploration in Ukraine is going to go through the roof as soon as this bullshit is over, and nobody's going to be buying the Russian stuff for a very long fucking time.
He said, we could be energy independent maybe in 5 years, but if they shut things down, Russia covers 55% of German natural gas. He said many, many things would collapse here. We'd have high levels of unemployment. Many companies would go bankrupt. It would lead to irreversible damage. It would put the German economy into its worst crisis since the Weimar Republic.
Again, Germany dug this hole that they find themselves in. Secondarily, NATO countries, the United States, Qatar, and a couple of other like Saudi-related countries said they will provide natural gas to Germany during this time of transition. Again, this time of transition is probably 2 years to get the oil and gas exploration up and running out of Ukraine. Yes, and in 5 years, full flow back. And why is this surprising to anyone? This is the lesson of this is not you got to bend over and let Russia do whatever they want, otherwise you're going to be a deep shit. The lesson is don't buy into this in the future, and the mistakes that Angela Merkel made and others, don't make those again. And again, what the fuck does this have to do with the New World Order?
Many small, medium-sized company in particular, it would mean the end. We can't risk it. A delivery stop for a short time would perhaps open the eyes of many on both sides. It'd make clear the magnitude of the consequences. But if we don't get more Russian gas for a long time, we have a problem here in Germany. People often make no connection at all between a boycott and their own job, as if our economy and prosperity are set in stone. This is such an American problem.
Why is it an American problem? This isn't even this isn't even a French problem. This isn't a Moldovan problem. This isn't even a Spain problem. Why is Germany's completely out of balance reliance on Russian oil and natural gas suddenly the standard, the gold standard of being fucked into a cocked hat by this situation, when none of the other... Where the fuck is Belgium in this? Why is this not uniquely a Belgian problem?
Will be a catastrophe.
They say that, like, Russia get, like, 30% of... You know, Europe gets 30% of their oil and natural gas from Russia. And that's a huge deal to get rid of. Well, of that 30%, something like 60% of it goes just to fucking Germany.
And we will feel it clearly next year more than this one, because most of the fertilizers that the farmers need this year has already been bought. In 2023, there will be a shortage, and poor countries in particular, for example in Africa, will no longer be able to afford basic foodstuffs. This is a risk of famine.
Right. It's not a risk. It's going to happen. There are going to be famines because Russia chose to attack Ukraine, not because we reacted to it. They didn't have to do this. As a matter of fact, the world had such a reliance on fertilizer from Russia, that could have been their leverage point against NATO alone. So this had nothing to do with NATO. Putin wants the fucking land. He wants these countries. He wants Lithuania. He wants Moldova. He wants Latvia. He's got Belarus. He's got Kazakhstan, although it's slipping towards China.
Okay. All right. Maybe we should
What? Let Putin have whatever the fuck he wants?
think about the whole new global order thing a little.
They are, asshole. The old order was that assholes like Putin always had a say. The New World Order was about creating, everybody plays in the same sandbox, except a couple of the players turned out to be fucking around, and now they're finding out. Specifically Russia and China. The idea that they're on the UN Security Council is ridiculous. It's absurd. They do not have the desire for everyone to have their own sovereignty and their ability to design their own defensive relationships. Even if they signed on to it, they don't believe it. So the idea that they're in the UN, that's the old world order now. That's the mid-world order. It needs some updating. The new update is kick them off the UN Security Council. Maybe exclude them from the United Nations because they don't seem to be interested in the idea of nations united in rule of law and liberal democracy. You think?
Differently? Maybe we should all sit down and have a chat together.
Yeah, maybe. This is weird. By the way, this asshole is constantly saying that when Biden whispers into the mic, it's creepy and he shouldn't do it. I'm just reminding you of that.
I'm just saying.
And in this clip, He can't stop fucking doing it.
Now, let me give you two other things.
Unrelated to any fucking thing. And again, the world order and okay. The shit he warned us about at the beginning of this, about the World Economic Forum, very specifically, that they're trying to figure out a way to redo how you grow food from seed to market in 8 years. They're trying to come up with a reason. One of the reasons they're trying to come up with this is because right now our current system relies on fertilizer from fucking Russia. Maybe, just maybe, an alliance of democracies getting together and going, we need to figure out a way to grow our own fucking food so we're not reliant on people who murder anyone in their society that looks at them cross-eyed. Maybe, just maybe, we should come up with a system that does not involve potash and fucking fertilizer and nitrogen from Russia. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe that's so the next time they fuck around like this and we have to take measures to stop them from invading violently another country and leaving the citizens dead and rotting in the street, that we don't have to check ourselves a little bit for fear that we won't have enough wheat. Good fucking Lord.
In Ukraine, they can't even get the tractors out. This is plant, seeding time, field seeding time.
Yes, there's not going to be a wheat harvest. They're going to be a net importer this year.
And they can't even get the tractors out because of the drone.
No, they can get the tractors out. They've been using them to steal tanks.
It's up in the air. The farmers are like, I'd rather not get blown off my tractor by a bomb.
By bomb? Is that how they speak? I mean, it's translated from Ukrainian, so he might be right. I'd rather not be blown off my tractor by bomb.
And so they're not planting the fields.
That's why they're not planting the fields right now, because they're afraid of their own drones.
It could go down as much as 20% of the usual output. That might be a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem. That's why you need a new world order. You need a situation where you don't rely on China when it comes to your factories being there, if they can't be trusted to tell you fully everything you need to know about a contagious disease, because both internally in the CCP and amongst the society, they have an issue about face, and nobody wants to give anybody bad news, and anybody that gives bad news, and especially in terms of the CCP, might end up dead. So you can't trust those folks when you're trying to operate in normal business. You want to be able to fly over there, see how the factory's doing, make sure no workers are jumping out of fucking windows, and arranging for products to come and go and designing and all that kind of stuff that you would do, and then fly the fuck home without bringing a contagious disease. You can't trust that now. Therefore, whoop, we're all moving back. We're reshoring factories. We're changing our supply lines. That's what you would do. That's the smart plan. And they trusted it too much. The same thing is true with Russia's involvement in oil and gas in Europe and wheat production, fertilizer. That's now not a part of the world order anymore. You can't trust that will happen. You cannot trust Russia, so you gotta figure out another system for it. And that takes strategizing with like-minded countries for the safety of everyone involved. I don't know, but this is just adult shit. How did adult shit become a mass conspiracy? Right? Does anybody know? I guess it's because the autocrats and the dictators and the assholes like them have been seeding social media and YouTube and all these other places, and Tucker Carlson with conspiracy thought about what if we all get together? The CIA must be working with the World Bank and the WEF, and they're controlling everything so that they can put a chip in you, and all that bullshit has been enough to make everybody be put off by the idea of, like, I don't know, if trade deals sound terrible to me, Meanwhile, what the fuck are they doing? Sterilizing people to get rid of them, having enormous rape camps, taking over Tibet. Our own artists eventually stopped wearing free Tibet shit so their stuff would sell in China. They fucking in Top Gun, they removed he had a Taiwan patch in Top Gun on his jacket, and they, in the international DVD, they replaced it. How about fuck that? That would be the line.
They can't get the fertilizers. They can't get the fertilizer in China. In fact, China is only going to produce about 40% of what it normally does. What it normally does.
How many people think that Glenn Beck has any fucking idea that China is a net importer of food and energy? Do you think Glenn Beck knows that? Do you think Glenn Beck knows that without imports into China, lots of people die? The United States is a net exporter of food on all fronts. Have been for a long fucking time. So's Canada. So's Mexico, for that matter. China isn't. Hasn't been forever. Hasn't been since you were a kid, and people are like, you better finish your plate. Kids are starving in China. Remember that story? Remember that? Don't waste food. There are people starving. They wish they had that food. China was the reference. Do you think Glenn knows this? You think Glenn knows that the wheat yield in Russia will more negatively affect China than it will Europe? The Ukrainian wheat yield will affect Europe. But the Russian one, which is larger, will have a larger impact on China. Because they're going to need to keep it for themselves, because they're also not getting shit from all over the world. They now have to be insulated. They're not going to export it. They're not going to have enough to export.
And the good news, Texas, Kansas, North Dakota, Oklahoma, New York are showing the largest decreases in overall cropland this year. They are planning on, in just those 5 states, planning on decreasing the plantings only by almost 2 million acres. So that's not going to be.
So what? That has zero impact. 2 million acres in the United States? You're kidding me, right? Especially when it involves Texas and New York State.
A problem. They are growing more soybeans, but about 40% less corn.
Right. And by the way, soybeans, that's a estrogen mocker that they think is turning everyone weak and that kind of thing. And that means if they're growing soybeans, they're growing it for China. That's what he wants you to think. Corn is American. I mean, it's sugar, and it's used for things like high fructose corn syrup, like the Sonic beverage that this asshole has on his desk every time they change the angle, you'll see.
Oh. We can have soy.
Yes, and the soybeans are for cows. We do feed livestock with them.
And that soy sauce, let me tell you something. That soy sauce never goes bad. I have soy sauce in my refrigerator,
Oh God. Really? We're going with 80s stand-up jokes now?
Like right next to the butter tray. It's fantastic. I've got like a year's supply. Well, at this rate, now it'll change if we all get hungry, but at this rate,
Yes. The world is going to collapse, and we're going to find Glenn Beck drinking soy packets, packets of soy sauce.
A lifetime supply of soy sauce. It never goes bad.
Are they planting enough ducks for duck sauce? Because I don't know.
I'm not.
I'm concerned about that one.
Yeah,
There's a duck sauce
that
shortage
one
coming.
goes a lot faster.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to go out on your New World Order bit. Are they planting enough ducks for duck sauce? Just, the lazy bullshit